Yeah, here we go. Hope you all like the Friday fitness files. I'm going to do it again. Do it for a little while. See how it goes. I like adding little themes to days. Gives me a little more structure, which is cool. Not sure if we'll add any other days in there, but that one just felt very right to me. I think I have some specific things to talk about that one and fill that one out. But we'll see how that goes. Not a ton of fitness this weekend. More outdoorsy stuff, not like in-gym fitness. 21, 15, 9 reps per time, that kind of stuff. Some sunrise hikes, a lot of time outside, work outside. It was really nice. And we'll get back to the in-gym fitness tomorrow. And one of the things that was on my mind today was kind of just thinking about words. And I don't always love the gratuitously pensive stuff, which is funny because that's like the basis for the entire podcast. This is kind of my 10, 15 minutes to reflect. But spent a lot of time mowing today, which was a lot of good reflection time. It's just kind of like a monotonous task. Got me thinking a lot about like organizing recurring tasks better in my life that don't necessarily like move the needle forward. Someone might say, well, yeah, they do because they allow you to do other things, or you can't just like let the dishes pile up, that kind of stuff. Just kind of felt annoyed at them today, but different podcast, different time. This one was just about the concepts of the words care and concern. And like I said, I don't always love, talking about words in this way. Sometimes I do think it's good because if you're stuck on something, it can help to kind of analyze it as you move forward. Sometimes you just need to like push past it. And I had a cool moment of this the other day. I was really frustrated and with something. And Cassandra and I were having a discussion about the thing I was frustrated about. And I kind of we talked about it, we talked through it, but I kind of just like kept all my feelings in. Not like bottled them up like you should do all the time. Just press them down there until they explode. You should, but I just thought to myself, what I'm feeling right now might not be fact. And it was nice because after a while we kind of talked, and then we talked again the next day. And because we're not like two people to like avoid things that like maybe we need to talk about or don't agree on. Like we won't just never address it. And so I didn't worry about like trying to solve it all right then and there. And it was really cool because the next day I just realized that, the way I was feeling, I was just being a turd, just kind of having like a woe is me moment or, pointing the finger externally too much. And then that went away and the next day it felt a little bit better. So, sometimes when you're having a really strong feeling, I don't think you should, ignore it. Don't ignore it, and because you do have the feeling, and they sometimes cause some effects. They have some ripples in the water, but man, it's like sometimes you get some context and some space away from it, and you keep thinking about it, and you realize, well, I did have that feeling, but it was a reaction to something. It wasn't a fair reaction of the actual events or reality. It was just the feeling I had at the time. They're not always facts. And maybe, they could be coincidentally, but fundamentally they're not. That's always good to remember. That's not what this was about today, but it did sort of, in a roundabout way, get me to what I wanted to talk about. And that was the concept versus care versus concern. And a friend of mine, we were talking the other day, and we were just talking about just being like, addicted to the doom scroll. And we were joking about, almost in a way that's sort of like a tip of the hat, was just how tasty even just like bad news is. Just like the brain rot of Instagram and social media. And even if it's just stuff like it's like people arguing or, like just these one-sided political thing, it doesn't even matter. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. It's like, have you seen, have you heard, just how like tantalizing the apps, that are on the line serve that stuff up to you. Like, even if you're like, it's not good for you, you're like, I just can't resist it kind of thing. And I'm just like so amazed by that and how easy it is to get sucked in. And how easy it is to find your, what I called it was concern porn. And, basically it's one of those things where after you like watch it or hear about it, you go find the next person or friend and you say this phrase, "Did you hear?" And we were laughing about this because I think, think about the person in your life who is the did you hear person. And spend 3 days away from that person. Kick all the did you hears out of your life for a couple days. See how you feel. See if you feel different. I'm not saying you'll feel better, not saying you'll feel worse, but it's so interesting to me. Also, you'll probably never be able to go home to another family gathering for a holiday because I feel like, because sometimes families, if you're not in touch a bunch, you don't have a lot of things to talk about. So it just becomes like, did you hear dinner? And which is just so interesting. But my point was like, the did you hear people, the concept of concern porn, it was like, it's just this thing that really likely has no impact on your life. But emotionally, it just is like really addictive. It could have some like enormous hook. Did you hear about such and such in the country that's 8,000 miles away? Or did you hear about this thing that you actually rarely think about, but it exists and it could get you? And it just made me laugh because I was like, man, I'm pretty fortunate. Like, I don't have a ton of did you hear. I don't know if I have any. I probably am that person. That's why I don't have them. I'm the dickhead. But the did you hear people that just cause you to feel concerned. And I think similarly, and this isn't an attack on anybody. It got me thinking about, because it's so easy to get caught up in this. I go through these cycles of like where I'm like heavily addicted to political news. And then I realize after that, I'm just like, it's kind of like eating 6 bags of Doritos. Like the first 5 are amazing, but the 6th one is just puts you over the edge and it's terrible. And you're just mad at yourself. Like, why did I do that kind of thing? But the did you hears and being concerned. And the reason I started thinking about this was just different times in your life you bump into people who, say things like, well, I wanted you to know because I'm just concerned. And what I was thinking, or they'll say, I'm concerned and I care. And I was thinking about this because even yourself as you navigate through your day, I'm concerned about something, I care about something. They're not the same thing in my mind. And so I was like, well, I wonder what the difference is. Because I had my own words for it, but I always start with the dictionary. I think it's a cool place to start. Not a perfect place, but it's a good place. Sorry, I keep doing a lot. If it sounds like there's little cuts in it, it's because I'm pausing to blow my nose. Little allergies. But concern has a bunch of definitions. I think the ones that stood out relevant to this: concern oneself with, so interest or involve oneself in. I thought that was pretty good. It's kind of just getting in there. The other one I thought was interesting was regard it as important or interesting to do something. And the last one that I really stuck out to me and it kind of hit home was, it says worry someone or make anxious. And we'll return to these, because then I looked at care, the definition of care, which I thought was also really interesting. And the dictionary definition served up something that I think draws the distinction between the two of these quite nicely. Care is defined as the provision of what is necessary for the health, welfare, maintenance, and protection of someone or something. Or serious attention or consideration applied to doing something correctly or to avoid damage or risk. Then there was one that really stood out to me, and it said, a feeling of or occasion for anxiety. And essentially, it was the opposite. Well, I'll just read it. So the example they gave was, she was driving along without a care in the world. So what I took this as was, if you lack care, you have this manifestation of these other things, feeling of occasion or anxiety, concern. So I see the two as maybe opposed. And so again, what really stuck out to me here was these first two pieces: the provision of what is necessary for the health, welfare, maintenance, and protection of someone or something, and then serious attention or consideration. And if you throw this back up to the concern definitions, you can interest or involve oneself in. You don't need to be seriously concerned. You don't need to provide provision of what is necessary for health, welfare, maintenance. You're just interested. And you want to get involved, which I thought was just really interesting to me. And for me, it kind of outlined the distinction of what I see between care and concern. And when I think about people I want to involve myself in, or if I want to, maybe even more importantly, in this instance, kind of what prompted this was when I want to get myself involved with others. Because I still do this, I find, especially as a coach, man, you're just like, oh, I'm concerned about this thing. That's very different. To me, concern in a way, and maybe it still comes from a good place. I'm not knocking anybody, but man, it just sounds like it could be meddling. And I think you could find yourself getting involved with a lot of stuff that you're concerned about that you don't really want to provide care for. And I think this definition of care, the provision of what is necessary for the health, welfare, maintenance, and protection of someone or something, that's a hefty task. That's a lot to do, which to me says, like, if I'm going to go care about somebody, if I'm going to tell somebody I care about them, I am signing myself up for a little bit extra. Concern is just sort of like, I got the popcorn out and I'm watching the train wreck happen. Like, I'm just concerned to see what happens next. Just interested in seeing what's going on. It doesn't even have to be that big of a deal. Or maybe it's just, maybe your anxious is making my anxious. And we've talked about this at length. It'll come around again. Like, a lot of times in life, when we struggle with things going on externally, it's because we are unwilling to be comfortable with other people's uncomfortable. We don't like that they're uncomfortable. So if we can change their uncomfortable, we can feel a little bit better. Again, you're signing yourself up for some work there down the road that I think ultimately will wear you out and you don't want to take on. So that was just the prompt. You know, it's obviously always good to look at least how I've outlined these two. You could argue with me on the definitions if you care to or are concerned. But, you know, you could look at this as, do I have more people, do I surround myself by people who are concerned or care? Do I, gravitate to concern or care? When I'm involving myself with other people, interacting with other people, am I interacting with them because I'm concerned or because I care? And again, the reason personally I think this distinction is important for me is you could just be concerned about everything and everyone going on. I mean, literally, that is what Instagram is for. Every little thing on there, I'm like, ooh, oh, wow, you don't say. Oh, my God. Actually, I don't say. Who says that you don't say anymore? What am I, 1,000 years old? Close. I think when you go through, if I can spend my time thinking about where I want to put care, I think I will be a little bit more discriminating in a positive way, right? Because care requires investment, time, effort. I think it'd be more genuine for sure. And, it'll avoid me from meddling in places and on things or with people where I don't want to see it through. I think that's probably the biggest one. I could be a lot of concern about a lot of things, a lot of people, relationships, what are they doing in work? What are they doing here? What are they doing there? But just concern is just like me, like knocking on the door and saying, just kind of like the person who just always points out what's wrong and then walks away. It doesn't want to help at all. Care is very different. You're putting yourself on the hook for a little more. And so I think you're a little bit more judicious about where you share that care, and rightfully so. And I think that's a better way to, in my mind today, thinking about this going forward, that's a better way to allocate my energy. So there we are. Care versus concern. Didn't come out the way I wanted it to, but we got there eventually. As always, appreciate y'all. More fitness tomorrow. Looking forward to this week's Friday Fitness Files, and we'll see you later.